So hi, I'm so happy to be here at the Creativity Conference NYC. I'm Sonia Banks and I am a recovering overachiever. Yeah, I'm with my people. Yes, I am a child and family clinical psychologist, NIH researcher, blah, blah, blah. But who cares about that? I got past all of that. And I've got a story to tell you because now I am an emboldened creative, unfortunately or fortunately, living in a social scientist's mind. Hence the color intro, right? Because it's my energy source. So I'll tell you a bit about how I got here. And one of the most amazing things, the guy that got play, which is what I'm going to talk about, into my heart and spirit, showed up here 45 minutes ago. I hadn't seen him in 21 years. I almost lost my stuff because I was like, Andy's here. So let me tell you a little bit about my journey and why play is so important to me. How it changed me from being an overachiever to a play curator. A little bit about play. You probably know about play because you played. Every primate creature plays. There's innate ability to just recognize when something is fundamentally interesting and go towards it. From age of 4 months to 8 months, you start to explore. You bang pots up against each other and call them toys. Play is this amazing way that we convey and talk about life without using words sometimes. And it spans into everything. Dr. Stuart Brown's book on play, which is still our main and central tendency for understanding it, says, what is it that we need to know and understand when it's so obviously pleasurable? What if the secret to innovation wasn't hard work, but it was play? Did you know, and I'm sure you know, you can raise your hand in your mind or for real, that play rewires the brain, it makes you resilient, it makes you creative. It actually moves you into a space where you forget about time. You're not even clear about where you are if you're in the moment. So let me ask a really brave question, and don't worry, because I asked my brother on the way here and he couldn't remember. Do you remember your most memorable play experience in your life? How many hands go up? Okay, that's good. That's because I'm in a room of creatives, right? Sometimes people can't remember it. And as a psychologist working with children and families, I sometimes discover adults that have never played. And they're showing up in life very differently because play has so much to do with how you solve problems and move past things. So for many of you, your play experience that was memorable may have been a game, yeah, with other people. May have been just making, mud pies or doing something different. But it had these properties. No doubt play had some, maybe it was purposeless. You're going outside and play. My mother just said, just go out and play and be home when the street lights come off. I didn't know what was out there, but I knew it was better than what was inside. So I went outside and did it. It's voluntary often, freedom from time. There's a diminished sense of self, right? When you're playing, you're not really thinking about whatever is eating you up or whatever you are eating. You are completely entrenched in that moment, whether it's soccer, whether you're playing the violin, or whether you're playing on the street corner with a piece of trash on the ground. It has improvisational potential. And that's what makes play so exciting, because it doesn't end up where it starts. And you just have a desire to keep continuing. Whether you are a cat, a dog, even elephants play. And this is important because when we get to humans and we start playing and moving things about, we constantly forget that our entire companions in the world, our furry companions, have been playing, and that has a lot to do with how we show up. I want us to pay attention to that because when I learned about the power of play to change, and actually my work is in behavioral change, but I knew there had to be more because every time, I don't know about you, but I got in front of a pile of leaves. It was irresistible, right? I had to knock it over. So there are memories that come back. We start to act like airplanes. And as children, we just think it's the most glorious thing. So what happens when we grow up? What happens when we stop playing and exploring? And we know what happens, right? You have family tussles and rolling in the ground. And you think, okay, stop. You're getting too close. This is getting dangerous. But actually, that's good for the brain. That sense when you're a child of when to stop and start. It happens right here on the living room floor. And if not, it may happen somewhere else where it's not deemed play, where it's not fun. Because play is supposed to be fun. So here's a quick story. my timeline entering, I was at VCU, assistant professor, and I was doing the psychology thing, and it went on, and I loved it. I mean, get me a good stack of treatment plans and a big research article, and I'm all in it. But I was a little like dull. And so I managed between that job at VCU and going to this mega church to be their chief learning officer to get in touch with this guy called Andy Stanovich. And it all happened at a board meeting. I mean, I was losing my soup, right? So I started wondering, well, what the heck? What's this all about? Why am I, sitting in this world where things don't move and I'm supposed to be a facilitator, a catalyst, an accessory to change, and I feel like I'm just going from one, playbook to another. So at that point, when I met Andy, and I'll tell you about him in a minute, I said, I'm done with this. There's got to be a better way to get behavioral change. And I started to explore. I was already naturally creative. You couldn't put me in a box. There was no box for me. I told my mother at age 2, literally, she said, you were 2 years old, to go home. I'm fine at the nursery school. Because, you get this overachiever thing. You're always there before everybody else, and you're trying to keep up and not get bored. So I met Andy, just to go to it, the meeting that changed my life. And as I said, I was at a meeting in an elementary school board with bankers all around the table. I'm like, why do they have this psychologist here? There's the money. Talk to them, Andy. And Andy kept talking to me with these little cards. And I'm like, why are you talking to me? I did have my bright orange. You can tell I'm loud. But he just kept going at it. And what he told me about play and innovation, at that moment I had to have more. So I met him in a coffee shop and talked my way into his adventure for the weekend. This was a man that used innovation to get top-notch creatives from Disney and Moen Water Faucet and Crate and Barrel, just stimulated so they could keep creating. So I got to be in there and hang out with these cats, and that changed my life. We did so many things, right brain, left brain, right brain, left brain. If you don't believe in right and left brain, we just went in circles. Every event, from going to the firehouse and putting on the fire costume, to being in a test kitchen, to going in the back of an art gallery and understanding how the art's labeled, to going to that's exactly right, we were here with the dead bodies and learning how people die and how people live. Everything back to back with a journal in between until your mind was on fire. And at that point, I literally exclaimed in the firehouse, oh my God, I gotta do this. And Andy said, yes, Sonia, this is a religion. And I was done. I was baked. I left VCU and I went to the St. Paul's Baptist Church, and God bless them, because I totally turned that church into kids that play, camp that play, women that play, couples that play. I just played all over as a chief learning officer. This was my first couples at play. It went so well. I just copied what Andy did. I said, let me just test the doggone thing. Let's blind people and have them paint each other, go to a firehouse. And I was at the Hyatt, and I didn't know anything. I took my own money, and I just gave everything away. And at the end, these 5 couples said, you underpriced your product. And they gave me a tip. They gave me $350. I was like, wow. I didn't even know this was going to work. So I did it again and again, because as a scientist, I didn't believe the data. 72 hours, I had couples intimate, talking about their problems, happy, dancing, rolling on the floor. The common language was giggling. I couldn't get that in the therapy room, so I just kept doing it until it became so clear that that's what they were doing. They were taking a journey back to joy. They were using play as the conduit for all the change, and I had the power and the support. Now, there is science behind play. I'm not going to tell you that this is all just about good feelings. There's a lot of science, and thankfully the science keeps reminding us that it actually does build, as someone was saying earlier, the neuroplasticity, our brain capacity, problem solvers, decision makers. Once you keep playing, you know your brain is changing, and it's the way to go. This exhilaration, exuberation. Now when you look at people and what they're doing, I see it through a lens of play. Wherever I go, whatever I do, wherever I'm working, that's what I'm looking for. Is there a play gap? If there's a play gap, it's a space where imagination is seen as an interference. Therapy can't evolve. You can't seem to fix the problem because the problem needs creativity and energy. It needs the mind to be set free. And that's what I do. I help people explore and go to it. Now, I've been doing this for about 21 years, since Andy Stanovich. I've worked with realtor companies. I've taken polarity management, had people walk it out. I've taken folks on trips and said, let's look at the lumber yard. Let's start from the tree and look at what happens to it. To be able to shift your mind, let's work in reverse. Looking at bookstores, you get so hooked on the doggone thing that you can't stop doing it. And now I'm working with a small agency in Corona, Queens. It's been there since the 50s, 145 people, understaffed, under-resources. Most of them are trauma impacted. And they're letting me take them on the floor and show them polarity mapping. This is an organizational concept in 30 minutes just by playing with them. So I tell you, you can play for no reason, just the sheer joy of it, but it's a catalyst for exploration. Look at the group on the right and the group on the left. Which team would you rather be in? So consider play and all that it can do. Thank you, AI, for generating these images. And know that whenever there are play portals, it's access to your human understanding, your flexibility, and your humanity. Keep play in your team. Thank you for your time. Ashe.